All right, next item up is the school-college partnership agreement between Triton College.
So I followed through on the questions asked from the board. Provided with you is the email from their dean, Mr. Jensen, as well as some of the updated language. Right now, out of all the schools that are in the school and college partner transfer, Oak Park and RB are the only two that haven't agreed to the universal contract. So we did make a few changes. He, as you saw in his email, he addressed to clarify 1 and 4 so that it shows that Triton doesn't have free reign of our building. Regarding Section 10, they do not require background checks on college personnel unless they handle money, are in security, or they deal with the child care services. So that's
a bad idea.
So what's basically happening is, since Triton was in the high schools last year when this started were requesting that they have their teachers do the background checks. And to Triton saying that we don't require that to teach a yoga class at Triton, we'll split the cost with the high schools for your teachers. So that's the clarification on that. And then if you had any, I think that answered most of the questions I was getting from the two biggest ones were reign of the college and reign of our campus, which is addressed in here, and then the background check.
The other one was co-employment, which wasn't addressed at all.
Which one?
Forget it. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I worry a little about all these schools saying they'll just sign the thing.
Well, the other one I think you...
Well, we looked at it.
Everybody else just signed it.
I will say something right now. We looked at it, and we got us more money the last time we did the contract and put some other wording.
The director's position, I asked why that's in there since they're not an employee of our
Right.
school. And they just wanted to clearly know so that you understand what that person's doing at the building. So if somebody came to you and said, hey, my yoga class, hey, you should be seeing the director. The board clearly knows what the responsibilities are for the person who's the director. Because I asked, why wouldn't that just be a separate document between Triton and the director?
Okay.
And that's what they clarified, why they keep those in there.
Okay,
So
do I have a motion?
What do you recommend here, Kevin?
What do you recommend, Kevin?
You want us to approve it?
Well, we have one in place already for the remainder of this year. So
Can you go over again, what is Oak Park and the other school?
the only reason Oak Park, from what I understood from speaking with their superintendent, where they're caught up is because they are very limited, even more than we are with parking, and they rent parking spaces. So they're working out with Triton who would pay the parking on that night.
Okay.
But
That's
for
not an
the
issue
most
for
part,
us?
the 2,000 and some of that stuff is pretty much universal.
Okay.
With Leiden, Elmwood Park,
Well,
Ridgewood.
this agreement's,
For next
we have an agreement that expired, and this one's
This one will
starting
be for next year.
the 11th through the 12th.
Yeah.
It's dated, so it's starting September 1st of this year through August 2012.
And we already currently have one, that's why they're already hosting classes here. And
But
the
this is to
contract that-
replace the one we
This is
have.
to replace it,
Correct.
right?
So if we wanted to, we can adjust the dates to start first next September the 12th.
No, I don't have a problem with the dates. I guess maybe just to note that maybe in our, I don't know, advisory committee would look this up, but maybe in
Facilities.
advance next year, we can try to do something with them. Okay.
I think it'd be
And
facility.
this is for, whatever we're approving tonight is for what? Is for July 1st, 12?
August 23rd,
No, August-
11 to August 31st,
It's August
12.
Right. They wanted a standard agreement for the remainder of this year. If the board did not approve this, they would carry out the rest of the contract that they have in place for the remainder of this year. And then the board would have to decide if they want Triton to host class here next year.
Well, I suggest you make sure the one we have in place gets terminated, so we don't have two agreements for the same term, because you've said that.
All right, do I have a motion?
So the fingerprint-based criminal history records check is the highest level of screening that we could expect from these employees? They're at least what our own employees have to go through, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was something the other high schools last year when this started working with Triton.
Good, good.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Resolved that the Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois hereby approves the intergovernmental agreement between Community College District 504 Triton and school partnership member Riverside Brookfield Township High School District 208 as presented in the October 11th, 2011 Board Agenda
Do I
Packet.
have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike Welch. Any discussion? All right, Marion.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Goodchick?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska? Yes. Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes. All right, the next item on old business is the video access to RV high school cameras for Riverside Police Department's 9/11 Center and patrol laptops. Kevin?
I did meet again with Chief White, so this was discussed at the committee of the whole meeting. I verified, or, described that the board was concerned. They want to make sure that it's only being used on 911 calls or in emergency situations. It's not free access to the cameras. He confirmed that. Pam was in that meeting as well with the chief and his deputy chief. They're also going to put a protocol in place to know when they're accessing our cameras. There is no additional cost to RB, even though they asked for that in the letter. It kind of worked out at the same time of when our camera DVR got fried, and we were in the process of purchasing a new one, and it's no additional cost to have an IP address access, so there's no additional cost to add the police or to give the police access.
And you want us to give the motion tonight that was handed in the green packet?
Yeah, I think Mary Ann addressed that a little bit, so it very clearly states that there's limited access on 911 or emergency situations only.
Thank you, Mary.
Great job.
And do we have it recorded that there is a log that we will have knowledge when they access our cameras?
That's what he said.
Yeah, but is that in there somewhere, so that we have history of it, that it's recorded?
Well, that's got to be their procedure.
Is it gonna be in a procedure?
Protocol.
Right?
And then we
But
should
where's
review
it
their-
written, so that-
We should review their protocol when it's done.
Okay, I just,
Okay.
You can trust your superintendent that I will make sure
Yeah.
that they have
Yeah.
a protocol in place and that I'm viewing that on a quarterly basis, or I could submit that report to the board. I don't, whatever you want to add to the resolution.
Well,
And just to make it clear, we're in control of assigning the password to them,
Absolutely.
so that if we have some violation, you can shut down access by
And the
changing
access
the
rights
password.
of what they
Right.
can and cannot access, what they can and cannot do. And
We can either do this could you tell us 2 minutes? What do we do with it now? I mean, I didn't even know we had video cameras in here, so who's looking at them? What
At
do
the
we?
construction, when we started with the new construction,
Yeah.
we went from, I think we had, and tell me if I'm, like 8 cameras total, so now we're at, how many are we total? I think we're 32 or 34.
I don't know the total.
So we have cameras all over, with the new construction, we put in there, we put cameras on the outside, but also on the interior also, to help us to monitor and also to make sure to record if there's anything.
What my question is, who is somebody monitoring them?
Yes, sir.
Is there
Security
security?
staff.
Like,
Security.
is there a
Security has
room they
regular
sit in?
checkpoints that they go through and check the cameras. We also have access in the main office, the assistant principal's office, the dean's
Okay.
office, so they're randomly checking cameras throughout the day, throughout the hallways. And then whenever we have an incident or we get a report of a theft or something, or an accident in the parking lot or something out in front, one of the things after we interview witnesses and stuff is then go back to see what we can pull off of the cameras.
Okay, thank you.
And we did that was one of the key things for increasing it, just to.
Got it.
And there is a notice in the student handbook that cameras exist at the school, and all of that was done appropriately.
They also help in aiding in enforcing the 1,000-foot rule for students who are
Not allowed.
asked not to be in the building
Okay.
under that. So there is a camera that looks out on Gulf Road and can see people who should or shouldn't be in the area.
The biggest thing with this is, as I stated at the committee of the whole, is there's times at 1 or 2 in the morning when we've left here from board meetings that they're getting alarm calls. You know, so it would be nice that the 911 center or the police station says, hey, you're on, can you stop at the school, we're getting an alarm call. That the chief, in trying to protect his officers, also preparing them for what they're going into, be able to look at the cameras and make sure there's not some huge thing he's walking into or she's walking into being unprepared.
Okay,
Want me to read the
the motion, yeah, the motion will become from the green packet then.
Resolved that the Board of Education Township High School District 2A, Cook County, Illinois hereby grants limited access to Riverside Brookfield High School cameras for the Riverside Police Department's 911 center and patrol laptops when the police respond to a criminal act or to an emergency situation, as presented in the October 11, 2011 Board Agenda Packet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Gary Gritchen.
Comment.
Okay.
So, we talked about that we would be developing a procedure book to go along with our policies. And I just want to make public note that we will then put in that procedure that we'll have some kind of protocol to make sure that this is being followed, right?
Yep.
And that you'll have some kind of quarterly report and say it's not been accessed or something. I feel strongly for the protection of students and undue monitoring and.
Okay, any other discussion?
I'd also say that this is a public building, and there's no expectation of privacy when you're in this building. And so, students in this building have no expectation of privacy for their lockers, their backpacks, and their activities in the building, so.
Yeah, but just to clarify, because I'm not her, it's one thing for us to monitor them, or the administration, since we don't monitor them, to do it. It's another thing to make it accessible to the police department. And I come from a family, my dad was a deputy chief, my two brothers are Chicago police lieutenants. I still don't think the police should have open access to what's going on in the school.
Yeah, I disagree, but.
Well, that's fair enough.
All right, Marianne,
Hey,
are we done?
just so I clarify, the building will get a quarterly report. The way I'm going to implement this as a superintendent, because this is not a policy,
Right.
this is just a
Procedure.
on a quarterly basis, I will have a report given to the assistant principal and principal of when they access the cameras, so that at the building level, if I think it becomes a concern, I will bring it to the board's attention.
All right, Marianne?
Mr. Gritchen?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes. Okay, I know that you're gonna look at your watch now and say, wait, it's not 10 o'clock and they're going into closed session right now. It is, and this is the reason why we did this committee meeting of the whole, is to try to get a lot of the discussion and what we need to do to make sure that this meeting is becoming a little bit more buttoned up, but allow us to focus on closed session items, which we will be discussing tonight is student discipline, resignation, maternity leave, personnel issues, some collective negotiating matters, and litigation. So as we are going to, before we move into closed session, I'd like to know if there's anybody who wants to speak on this side of the room for visitors' comments. Seeing none on this side of the room. Yes, ma'am, please step up. Please state your name and where you're from.
Renee Buxa, and I'm LaGrange Park, Illinois. And actually, I just want to make a comment on your comment regarding how efficient you have gotten through this meeting. And the reason that you've been able to do that is partially so much of that discussion and reports are in that committee of the whole meeting. And I know I did bring this to you last month too, is that I would like you to look further into finding some way to be able to televise those committee of the whole meetings, because so much information is there. And I know communication has been a big goal for this board, and I feel that the community needs to know what is being said at those committee of the whole meetings. And so I'd like you to continue to look to see if you could televise those.
We'll definitely have next month's, I think we found some money in the budget, but I have to look after I check into the grant money that I have to now put against my goal, but
I think
I
the
think
one thing.
we have about 5 that we're gonna be doing. I think we have to move the room possibly to the Lahatsky room to minimize the manpower of students that need to be used. But we've already started to work on at least televising 5 of the upcoming committee of the whole meetings.
And we might just use a stationary camera. I don't want these guys staying till 1, 2 o'clock, whatever, you know. That's a little bit too long for me.
Right,
That's
I
too
know
long for me, that's
some
long for,
way
you
to
know what I mean?
work, I mean, whatever works, but just something to get that information, because I know there are so much important discussion and reports. And I was out of town at the last one and missed it, and I hear that the reports were very informative, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak? Seeing none, okay, do I have a motion for closed session?
Resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, enters closed session for the purpose of considering student discipline, appointment, employment, or dismissal of employees, collective bargaining issues, litigation, and confidentially of closed session minutes.
Have a second?
Second.
Second by John Keane. Mary Ann?
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Goodchin?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes, all right, thank you very much. We're gonna go back, we're gonna go into closed session at 8:25.